My name is Heather Carlucci.
And what is your affiliation?
I am a co-founder of a group called Chefs for the Marcellus, and we are a group of food service professionals who are more than concerned with the activity going around natural gas drilling or hydrofracking, in and around the Marcellus Shale.
And why are you concerned about that?
Because more than anything, it damages our land, it damages our food source, it damages our water table, and, in a more basic way, damages like our welfare as far as our jobs. Without food, without water, nobody can live. We don't have jobs, we can't do business, and the only thing that really works in that is really health, because everybody's health deteriorates and healthcare business will shoot up. Except that without water, we can't run proper healthcare either. So we're sort of trying to band together to educate people about the effects of fracking.
Right. And so what's your name?
My name is Claire Marin, and I'm a resident of Long Eddy, New York. I actually own 4 properties very near the proposed site for this enormous compressor. I have several properties in the area, but I also reside there in New York City, and I also have a thriving honey-based organic business right maybe 1,000 feet from this site.
Do you have some connection with Chefs of the Marcellus?
We do, absolutely. I'm a supporter of the organization. They do amazing work and in bringing to the forefront an awareness to chefs in New York who buy products grown in this area, including my honey and my maple syrup. So, Heather and I have gotten much closer since I discovered this, and obviously we have so much in common in bringing, good, clean food grown in this state, which will be affected by this. Yeah, we're here today to hopefully meet with elected officials who have yet to show up, who have allowed this Millennium Pipeline company to come and propose a 15,000 horsepower compressor station in a completely residential area. This is where I live, run my business, and many of my neighbors, if not 90% of them, are here today. So I appreciate you being here actually and recording this, because it's, they have actually said the rumor is that there is no opposition to this, which is completely untrue. Exactly. So it's completely untrue. And, the elected officials have received letters from us and phone calls already, but they will continue to receive our feelings about this in making it impossible to raise children, wildlife, have clean water. It's a wetland area. It is full of tributaries that go right to the Delaware River, full of them. There are fields on my property I cannot plant on because they're so wet. 1 foot into it, it's water. They're about 1,000 feet away, and they're claiming that water won't affect their compressor station.
Now tell me, how does a compressor station impact groundwater?
The emissions begin with major air pollution, carcinogens. There is a pretty high level of cancer in the area actually already. So water is part of the cleaning process of natural gas and will be used there, at the compressor station, number one. But the emissions are huge. The air pollution, noise pollution, vibration to the land. So again, wildlife, all that. I mean, I will definitely have to move my bee farm, and I actually am going for a distilling license. It's already in. So that's over. I need a lot of clean water for that as well.
Distilling what? That's like whiskey?
Distilling vodka, and yeah, I think it would be really honey spirits, honey-based spirits.
Local businesses.
Yeah.
Major economic resources to the area.
Yeah, so my plan is to make Longetti really be on the map. I put Longetti on everything. Nobody knows where it is. Used to not know where it is, but that's where my business is based.
I've seen the exit on 17. Isn't there a Longetti exit? No.
No, actually, yeah, Fish's Eddy is probably the
Fish's
closest.
Eddy, okay.
Yeah, but it's also another point too. That's interesting is that the road that they're planning to do this on is a partly seasonal. So there's only one exit in the winter months. It is not plowed. So there's one exit in the in the event of an emergency. I don't know how we would evacuate thousands of people that live right on Hungry Hill Road and Delaware Lake. So we'd love to talk to the elected officials, and we will. Sam, we're coming to talk to you. But
so the elected officials, like the town board.
Yes.
Now, what can the town board? Because I see FERC here. FERC to me is like
yes.
federal jurisdiction. Can the town board do
Totally.
anything?
Well, they can actually. The town board is the first one to say, sure, come in, and then FERC moves in and says, are you in compliance with all these things? But
so they've already been to the town boards then.
Yes.
Okay, and the town boards have already said.
Yeah, that's my impression, certainly. I wish they were here so we could talk to them, but they're not. They've been invited, I was told.
Now talk about the kind of presentation in here. It's like I was expecting
it's a one-way conversation, really, and it's unfortunate that they are speaking as if this is a done deal,
Who's
pretty
speaking
much.
about that?
Millennium Pipeline, and their representatives who are here are speaking about it.
What's FERC saying right now?
They're taking our comments, and they will post them on their website, and Heather, you need to put your comments down and let them know what your concerns are. No, but I think it's important for awareness. People don't really know, and according to the officials, there's no opposition whatsoever, which could not be farther from the truth.
Well, where are they getting that from then? Where do they?
From them, they're making it up.
It's PR.
They're lying.
Yeah.
You read it in the papers, they're lying, so. That's what I have to say.
Bruce Ferguson. I work with the Catskill Citizens for Safe Energy.
Oh, okay. And so we were talking about the possible health impacts of this compressor station. And can you say something about that?
Well, we know in Texas, where there's been a lot of compressor stations put in, and particularly in the town of Dish, we're aware that there have been widespread health problems in that town. In fact, one health study indicated the majority of the residents had been sickened by toxic emissions from gas drilling infrastructure, including lots of compressor stations. That is a very big concern. Millennium claims that their emissions here will be below what is the legal limit. Some of us have seen the UV footage of compressor stations, which shows the emissions that come out that are invisible to the naked eye, but when you put a light on them or a camera on them, you can see just plumes of volatile organic compounds coming off of these compressor stations. Methane, of course, and other constituents, some of which are highly toxic. Benzene and so on, carcinogens. So that has got to be a very big concern for anyone near a compressor station. And then, of course, there's the noise, which a gentleman from Millennium just told me it'll sound like, in the nearest house, it'll sound like a dishwasher running. And peak load begins at around 3 o'clock in the morning. So 3 o'clock in the morning, the family nearest to this station will be having the sound of a dishwasher running from 3 o'clock to noon, or perhaps 24 hours a day, every day, to supply the power for the compressor station.
Claire said that this was a 15,000 horsepower, is that right?
That's what they're calling it, 15,000 horsepower. But when I asked them, I said, will you guarantee the residents of the town of Hancock that you will not expand it beyond 15,000 horsepower? They would not give that guarantee. The initial phase, and this is a concern with the Millennium Pipeline right down the line, I think, They expanded the pipeline in 2008 without telling people that the Marcellus Shale in New York and the Utica Shale in New York were being developed as natural gas sources. Then they come back and last year they say, oh, we need a compressor station in the town of Minisink in Orange County. Now, this month, they said, oh, we need a compressor station in Delaware County in the town of Hancock. These different sort of dropping of the beads here is very deceptive. There's a concept in environmental law called unlawful segmentation, where if you're going to do a high-impact environmental project, such as a pipeline with compressor stations, you've got to lay all your cards on the table at the beginning so that people can honestly evaluate the full impact of what you're proposing to do.
Rather than just looking at one little project at a time.
That is called unlawful segmentation, and I think there's a case here to argue that the building the pipeline, expanding the pipeline in 2008 and saying nothing about compressor stations, coming back in 2011 saying, oh, we need a compressor station in Minisink, and then coming back in 2012 saying, oh, we need a compressor station in Hancock. I believe this could be characterized as unlawful segmentation.
They increased its size from 15 to 30 inches in 2009. So right after this 2008,
really?
They increased the capacity.
Yeah, they rebuilt the entire pipeline.
Yeah.
Wow. You go anywhere around where the pipeline is, you can still see the disturbance on the ground.
I remember they came through just north of Binghamton.
We did the entire pipeline, and now they need these stations because as the Marcellus Shale is being developed in Pennsylvania and as they hope in New York, the gas is coming in not at the original point. They have one compressor station now in Corning, and that used to suffice. But with the gas coming in lower down in the system, as it's being fed in from Susquehanna County and so on, Pennsylvania, as it's going to be fed in from the southern tier and so on, they're going to need downline compressor stations to keep the power up. Right now, they're carrying 700 million cubic feet a day. It was built to carry 530 million cubic feet a day. With the compressor stations, but it's not moving. You see, the problem is it's not moving. If compressor stations essentially speed up the flow of the gas, the more compressor stations, the faster the gas moves to the pipeline, the greater their capacity for carrying gas.
So they're increasing the rate of gas going through the Millennium.
Right. That's the whole point of a compressor station.
Because I was going to ask, it's like, why did you build this pipeline? Did you just forget that you needed two 15,000 horsepower compressors? Is it a design flaw that they're trying to work around by building these new compressor stations? Or, like you're saying, was even, and if you look at the route of the Millennium, did they know all this all along?
A gentleman in there just told me that they didn't know when they expanded the pipeline that the Marcellus Shale would be developed.
When the Millennium Pipeline was built, there was no, people did not know about the Marcellus gas situation. And so it was built entirely without any recognition of that reserve.
I think that's absurd. I mean, the landsmen knew in 2008 and 2007 the Marcellus Shale was going to be developed because they're going around signing up leases. How can Millennium Pipeline Company claim that they were unaware of the Marcellus Shale play? I mean, the industry had put laws through in Albany in 2005 and 2008 to develop the Marcellus Shale. They got the laws they wanted in place. This thing was in the works for a very long time. The only people who were kept in the dark about it is the general public.
It's like 10 years of planning.
At least 10 years of planning, at least.
Everybody knew about it except we found out basically 4 years ago is when this all hit the news, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. So now, what's FERC saying about this? I heard some people saying that people are talking like, I don't even want to repeat what they said. You tell me what you've heard. Is there any way to...
FERC, has to play it down the middle. There is one interesting aspect of this. The FERC approval depends on, this is getting a little off point maybe from this one compressor station, but FERC licenses projects based on public interest and necessity. And
Like the government in general has to operate
right.
in a public interest.
They're going to have to go in there and make the case that it's in the public interest. And indeed, in this case, they have a pretty compelling case, because this gas is being delivered to utility companies in Rockland, Orange County, perhaps New York City, Con Ed, NYSEG, Orange and Rockland County. These are domestic consumers of natural gas. When you look at the big picture,
it doesn't have to go in a residential neighborhood, though.
No, of course not.
You can cite it someplace else.
The same thing in Minisink. It's going into a residential neighborhood. Hungry Hill Road is a rural road that people chose to live on because it's rural and quiet. It's the last place you go to be next to an industrial facility. I mean, that's not why you moved to Hungry Hill Road. I mean, let's face it. It's a remote, quiet backwater, and that's why people choose to live there. And they're destroying that, and they're taking it away, and they're taking it away with no compensation. I said to one of the gentlemen, I'm in the house next door, it's going to sound like a dishwasher running all the time, beginning at 3 o'clock in the morning, going maybe 24 hours a day, maybe till noon. I said, so what compensation are you offering to the person who lives in that house who's now going to be listening to a dishwasher 24 hours a day or 12 hours a day or 9 hours a day? He said, nothing. You've just dramatically decreased the value of that property.
Quality of your life.
And the quality of life. And for some people, it's going to be intolerable. And they're going to want to leave. They're going to have to sell. They're going to sell at a loss, because who's going to go in and buy a house next to a compressor station with no guarantee that it's not going to be 30,000 horsepower and greater decibels in 3 or 4 years' time, when that's what they decide what they want?
Now here's my question, okay? I think about a really hot rod, like one of these new Mustangs, there's maybe 150 horsepower. So that's like 100, and those things, there's this, right where I live, there's a place where they get on it. Yeah. Whoa, whoa! And I think about what 150 horsepower full out sounds like, times 100.
Yeah. Well, of course, your hot rods are built for noise, let's face it. The kids are driving those around. They're not trying to be church mice. You know, that's not the thrill of driving a hot rod.
But still, 100 Mustangs, to me, maybe even with good mufflers, you know, a dishwasher, is that, to me, I don't know. It seems like it could be more than just
constant dishwasher. It's funny, and the dBs drop off very quickly. I mean, it's sort of like the Richter scale for earthquakes. A minor change is a very big difference.
A minor change in distance really drops off
the scale of the sound.
Yeah, okay. But that low frequency stuff really travels long distances, that low rumble that you can kind of feel. That's what I've heard.
I'm going to make one more point if I can, Bill.
Yes.
And this is my latest hobby horse, but I think it's the key to the whole shale gas play here in New York and elsewhere, and that is the plan, and this is something else the public is just now finding out about. The plan is not to develop a domestic energy source for the United States. The plan is to turn the United States into the leading exporter of natural gas in the world. That's why they're spending $100 billion on export plants alone, hundreds of billions of dollars more on pipelines. It's all about exporting our gas to China, to India, to Europe, countries that already own the shale gas reserves and own the leases here. If this is allowed to play out, we are the new third world. We are being sacrificed to provide natural gas to countries like France that forbid fracking at home because they know it's too dangerous, but France owns gas reserves and leases here in the United States. And they're going to be taking our gas and taking it back to clean, green France and burning it. And we're the suckers. We're the suckers. So I think if we look at the export picture and we concentrate on blocking the construction of all these export plants because there's no public interest and necessity in exporting our fuel overseas. If we can block the licenses of these plants, the whole shale gas play across the United States is going to wither up and blow away. They don't want $2 gas for the domestic market. They want $16 gas in India and Japan and so on. And it's all, and even the low price now is a sucker price to get people to convert vehicle fleets to natural gas, to convert buildings in New York City to natural gas. And then when the export market comes online and the price goes up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times what it is today, you're already left, you bought the infrastructure, you're stuck with it, you got nowhere to go, you're a captive of the natural gas industry. And that's, to to my mind, the big picture. And we got to block the exports and shut the whole thing down.